Alright, X-Men Days of Future Past. This was, without a doubt, a great film. And the review I'm doing, just so you guys know, it's a spoiler-free review. I'll do a different video, like right after I finish this, I'll do a separate video because I don't want to put them together because when I do that, they tend to be incredibly long videos. So I'll do a spoiler-free review. I'll actually make this one fairly short because it'll be the typical review, what's good, what I didn't like without spoilers, of course. And then I'll do a much longer video, which hopefully won't be too long for you guys. But check the link below, and I have that video uploaded, like I said, right after this one. So the link will be in by the time this one's uploaded. It'll actually, both videos will be up, so you can check that one out too if you like this one if you want to. But that'll be in depth things I liked, of course, in depth things I didn't like in depth, and all types of really good stuff that I'm looking forward to for future X Men films. But Days of Future Past, incredibly excited for, like anybody who's an X Men fan would be. And even if you're not a huge X Men fan, I think X Men, a lot like Spider Man, it was one of the first sort of superhero films that really, really took off. Those were the two big franchises that first started off the whole real big superhero thing. Because I think before those came out, it was really just the Batman films, and those had ended like long before Spider Man came out. I think the first Spider Man was 2002, and then before that was just like the Batman movie. I think the Fantastic Four movies, but those didn't exactly blow up or anything. But X Men has been out for years, and it's gone through so many different iterations. We've had the original three films, and prequels, and sequels, and interquels. I guess I don't know, but this one was definitely great, and of course, it blended the best parts of X Men First Class with the first three X Men films, and it even like helped people enjoy some of the things that happened in the other films, even if they didn't exactly like them, because it helped you appreciate some of the things that did take place. But one of the greatest things in this film is just all the characters. Everyone seems to have a just great dialogue. They always seem to have a moment, or even if it's very little, because some of the characters that are in there, they play really important roles as far as in the universe and the storyline, but they don't exactly have huge parts as far as the film itself, because most of the film actually takes place in the past. So some of the big characters that you will see actually don't take up a lot of screen time in the film, and that was one interesting thing to me. It doesn't exactly balance between the, I guess it would technically be the present and then the past. It's actually mostly in the past. So a lot of the film is the X Men First Class trio. Really, it's mostly Xavier, Magneto, and Mystique, and they're of course the big three because it's Xavier, Magneto, and then as we saw from X Men First Class, Mystique was sort of the one who was the in between type of character who grew up with Xavier, but she always had that inkling that humans don't really appreciate us for who we are. And even Xavier didn't feel that way when he would look at Mystique. It was like, why not just blend in and stuff? And that's kind of not what she wanted to do. So it was cool they kind of transitioned that storyline over to this film, which I thought was just really well done. And it just expanded way beyond what it did in First Class, because they'd already gone through the whole mess in the film. So they'd already gone through losing each other and going through hating each other, Xavier and Magneto and stuff like that. And it was so good to see those characters come together again after what happened in X Men First Class, and then of course Wolverine's the one who has to bring them all together, and it was really cool to see that. And I actually saw the movie twice, and the first time I didn't think about it because I was just enjoying the film, but the second time I saw it, watching Wolverine with like James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, who was young Xavier and young Magneto, it was interesting to see him there because it was like, it's like X Men First Class. He had his little cameo because, of course, he was alive at the time. But in this film, he's actually in it with them a lot and interacting with them. And I was like, even though I get it because he's like a huge part of pretty much every X Men film, it was still weird because I recognized the fact that he's technically back in time, mentally at least. And it was just really cool to see that, him interacting with them, and he had good moments with them, and it was like him being who he is. He wasn't exactly the best person to help the characters out because he's very straightforward, and that's not always good, especially coming from Wolverine, because he doesn't do it in a nice way when he's straightforward. But they had some really great dialogue, really great interactions, and they threw in a ton of cool characters, a lot of cameo characters in this film that were really great. one big character who's huge in the Marvel universe, especially as far as the X Men goes, they're thrown in there as well, and that was a huge surprise for me. Of course, I won't spoil that in this video, but I love seeing that character in this, and it was just really interesting for what it did with the franchise, and it was overall, without a doubt, just a great film. Like if you haven't seen it yet, you should go see it because it's just a great X Men film. It's probably my favorite one, and that could be, of course, because of the whole fact it's like the fate of the future is depending on us doing completing this mission, which it was in the comic books as well as the cartoon. So it's hard not to for it not to be huge in your mind because it's like this is such a huge story in the Marvel universe that if it failed, you know, everything would all mutants would die off and stuff like that. So the Sentinels are a really big part of the Marvel universe as a whole, but of course they're typically focused in the X Men world. But they were great in this too. I mean, the Sentinels in this movie are far beyond deadly. They are nothing like the old '90s when I was like, it's gonna be cool to see like giant robots walking around, shooting laser beams and stuff, flying around, hard to destroy them. No, these things were like people. They were like just giant metal people. They kind of look like aliens, especially in the opening scene if you've seen it. But in the opening scene, there was stuff where like they were attacking the mutants, and they were just walking sort of in a group, and they were like knocking stuff out of their way, and they were just walking, and it was like they just look like, you know, of course I don't really know what aliens look like, but if I had to imagine it, these would be like aliens. They would be like giant aliens. They were technically like made of sort of metal or something, but they just looked silver. They had like skinny faces and skinny bodies, and they were like walking upright and everything, and it was just like very serious and stern. Like they were doing a job, and they were just walking like, get this out of my face. I gotta kill something. So they have a really creepy look, even when they're in their natural state. But then when they actually attack the mutants, they are way deadlier than the giant robots who can take a bunch of hits and shoot lasers. These things are just sleek and slender, and they're quick. And it was just really great to see that. It's not what I was expecting because they didn't. I don't think I'd really seen the Sentinels except for like a few bits and pieces in the trailers, but I wasn't looking for what the Sentinels looked like in the trailers. I was just enjoying them. So seeing them in the movie was a huge, huge bonus for the, at least seeing them for the first time, I should say, completely. And then one of the coolest parts about that is that they don't completely throw away the old Sentinels. They actually, since the Sentinels were basically created during the X-Men First Class timeline, or during that time period, I should say, we do get the early prototypes which look a lot more like the original versions where they do have the purple and stuff. So that was really cool, and we get to see that. And one thing that's a tiny, tiny spoiler, but it's not that big of a deal, is we get one of the probably most classic things that always happens in the X Men universe when the Sentinels come about, and that's Wolverine versus one of the Sentinels. And the thing with Wolverine is, of course, him being who he is, he can heal and stuff, so he can just take down Sentinels, chop through them, and everything. And we get to see him go up against a Sentinel, but they kind of change it up in a way that was just really funny, and it kind of ends the fight really fast. And it was like, it's funny to see that. And as much as I would have loved to have seen him just destroy the Sentinel, they didn't do it that way in this film. But it was really cool to see that they actually, like, they kind of gave it to us, because that's one of the big things. Is like, it's hard for anyone to take out a Sentinel, but Wolverine's like the only character who's able to just take down like five if he needs to. And in this film, they kind of had to cut the fight short because he had to do something else, and things weren't exactly going the way he wanted them to anyway. So it was really cool that they sort of threw it out there, but they sort of flipped the script on it because of the storyline and how it changed the characters around and stuff. So that was really cool. But ultimately, I love this film. It's without a doubt worth seeing. Of course, there's nothing bad about it that I could really pick up. There's some things that people, of course, pick up, like I guess the powers of the Sentinel. Some people say they shouldn't be able to do that and stuff, but you know, it's just how the movie goes. It does actually make sense. And also, excuse me, one big thing that of course people are going to say is how certain things don't fit with other movies. None of these movies fit together except for like the first three, and then the Wolverine. Those are the only four movies that even go in a straight line. Everything else is just like out of order. It doesn't make sense. Like the Origins Wolverine screwed up the Sabretooth thing, so they knew each other, but then in the first three movies, he's like, he looks different and they don't really know each other. And, all types of stuff that isn't explained. So you can't really count that against the film. That's just the fact that I believe it was Paramount who owns the franchise. They've had like five different people take over go through these films. So like the first two as well as this one, that was Bryan Singer, and he kind of comes back in this and he makes it really well done, like he did with the first two movies. And then we had three when Bryan Singer went to do Superman Returns. I can't remember who took over for him, but that guy made X3. Then someone else did Origins. Someone else did First Class, and then the fifth person, I believe, I don't think that was Bryan Singer. Even though I do love the Wolverine, I thought that was a great one too. But someone else did that, and they have all these different people doing different takes on the franchise. Even though we have three established films, they take the characters and just kind of put them where they want. As far as like putting them in the past and doing like origin stories, no one really set up a straight timeline because they could have done like Origins could have taken place much further back and it could have actually fit in perfectly with the films aside from the Sabretooth part. But like the that could have fit in perfectly as far as the timeline went, but it doesn't. So it's all jumbled up. But you can't really count that against the movie. But other than that, it's a great film. Like it, I can't wait to see what they do with the next one because they already announced that they're gonna have a next one, and that one's gonna be great too. I'm sure. Hopefully, Bryan Singer does that. I think he will since he's kind of back in the fold, especially with what he did in this film. I feel like he's gonna really, really want to take control of the next one too, so that he can kind of do a whole new arc for the X-Men and tell his own story once again. And, well, I guess tell their story, but in his own way once again. So, if you haven't seen the movie, definitely go check it out because it's worth seeing more than twice. Honestly, it's such a great movie. Even if you know how it's gonna end and everything, you'll just still love stuff. You'll catch other things that you probably didn't catch before. But great film. Definitely go check it out. And like I said, I'm gonna put in the link below a link, or in the description below, I'm gonna put a link to my spoiler talk where I go through all the specific details. That's why this one's been super big, of course. But definitely check that out if you want to. But please go see the movie if you haven't seen it already. And comment below if you have, what you guys think about it, what you like, what you didn't like, and of course you can hop over to the spoiler video to give all your specific details on what you did and did not like. So comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.